Hey everyone, my name's Meaghan. I'm originally from London, Ontario, Canada, but moved to the Toronto area about 7 months ago. I'm going to start off by telling you about my Trichotillomania story, and then I'm going to get into my recovery. Before I start everything, I just want to mention I am 382 days pull-free. My year of being pull-free was on January 19th, 2020. It was a very emotional day, very surreal. I never in a million years thought that this could be me. So anyway, I have my story actually written out and I'm just going to read it. I am 28 years old, as I mentioned, from London, Ontario. I have not had hair for almost 20 years on my head. The first 8 years of my life were, I guess, all right. I've had quite the life, to say the least, but that's not what my story is about. My earliest memory of trichotillomania that I remember is my older cousin picked me up and my brothers from the bus stop, and we were walking home from school when my cousin stopped and said, "Meg, you have a bald spot on your head." I was 8 years old at the time, may I mention. I vaguely remember yelling at her and crying, saying, "No, I don't, Kimmy, that's mean, stop it." She and I argued back and forth. We went home and she showed my mom. This was the start of hell. My mom didn't know what was going on, so she started taking me to doctors. We ended up seeing this horrible doctor. Now, before I keep reading, this doctor was awful. Just awful. He made me feel like I wasn't even human. He made me feel like I was a disgrace. I don't even know why this doctor was allowed to be a doctor. He was a terrible man. We ended up seeing this horrible doctor who expected an 8-year-old with ADHD to lay down on a doctor's bed and be still for 8 hours of light treatment. He expected me to stay still under a light. My mom was like, she has severe ADHD, that just won't work for her. The doctor told my mom he couldn't help us. There was nothing he could do. And I had to live with how I was. He said I had alopecia. But not far after him saying that, we found out he was lying. I was okay with thinking that's what it was. Because deep down I knew that it wasn't that, because my hair wasn't falling out on its own. But even at a young age, I knew what I was doing wasn't okay and I was different. Eventually, doctors caught on and asked me if I was pulling my hair out. I was scared, so I always denied it. They started telling my mom that I was pulling it out, but I always said I wasn't. Elementary school was the absolute worst. I wore bandanas and hats from grades 3 to 8, so for 5 years, no one ever saw my head. I remember the horror when my mom asked my grade 3 teacher if I could wear a hat in class. So I went to Catholic schools my whole life, it wasn't until high school I wore uniforms, but even elementary schools, they were very strict with what students wore. So for my mom to ask my teacher this, it was a really big deal. I wouldn't let anyone see my head. I remember sitting at my desk and pulling like crazy until hair was all over my desk and around the legs of my desk. I was bullied so bad. All the kids knew I was different. They called me Cancer Kid. I got laughed at for thinking I had cancer. At age 9, it was the year 2000. So I started pulling in 1999. At age 9, I got my first wig. My aunt had breast cancer and ended up passing from it a few months later. But I remember she took me to her wig store to get my first wig. My first year of wearing a wig, it was ripped off during a run we had for a fundraiser at school. At that moment, I was so ashamed of who I was, I refused to go to school. So now I'm getting into years later and starting with my recovery. Coming out as gay was easier than finally admitting my deepest, darkest secret. My mom was happy I told her the truth. I felt so much better. I'll admit, even to this day, I sometimes lie when people ask what's wrong with me. I don't feel like it's everyone's business. My friends are very supportive. I got stared at a ton in public, but still it didn't bother me. Although there's a 2% chance nowadays where I will let it get to me, but I quickly can pick myself up again. Now, I wrote this when I was 76 days pull-free. So a lot has changed since then. It says here that I am really trying my hardest to break this after 20 years. Well, it's safe to say that I have, and it's an incredible feeling. I do want to mention one person, though. Maddie. Maddie is my best friend. We have known each other probably 6 years now. She's in Australia. She also has trichotillomania. Me sitting here today talking to you guys who are watching this and having the hair that I have now would not be possible if I did not have Maddie. Maddie, you're my best friend, my biggest supporter, my everything. Mate, this wouldn't be possible without your support. You are my biggest supporter, and you are beautiful inside and out. I can't thank you enough for all you've ever done for me. You're the most incredible person I've ever met. Even though we haven't met in person, you mean absolutely everything to me. I love you. I'm grateful to have Maddie in my life. I'll keep saying it because it would not be possible without her. This is my story. My advice to everyone is take it one day at a time. One day at a time, step by step, even baby steps. This disorder is really hard to break. And I've learned that this past year. You're beautiful. You are all amazing. And I want to thank you for watching this. So, I went to Florida the beginning of 2019. I came home January 18th, 2019 from Orlando, Florida. And I decided I was going to change my life. And ultimately I did. The next day, January 19th, 2019, I shaved my head bald. Kind of a routine thing. I shaved my head all the time. I was used to being bald. But this time I told myself, you are going to do this. You want to do this. All you've ever wanted your whole life is long hair. I stuck to that mentality. I had tried in the past to not pull. I think the longest I went was 5 months. But I still was pulling. There were still patches. But I had hair then probably to about here. So I can't even really say I was completely pull-free because I wasn't. This time around, I feel like I truly have beat it. And I am 382 days pull-free. My best advice is you need to teach your mind and your hands to do other things, if that makes sense. So I've had to teach my mind to distract myself. So whenever I would get the urge to pull, I would distract myself, whether it's talking to my amazing partner, whether it's talking to Maddie, whether it's playing a game, watching TV, going for a walk. I've had to really distract myself. And as for my hands, this is where it was hard at first, because always would be pulling from my head, and I'd always have my hands in my hair. Once my hair started to grow and get longer, that is when it was really hard, because I'd catch myself touching my hair, but I'd realize it and I wouldn't pull. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's been over a year now and I'm still struggling some days. Excuse me. There's still days where I'll catch my hands in my hair a lot, and then I realize it and I say, oh, no, that feels good. It feels good, twirling my hair in my fingers. I like that. But then I have to remind myself, no, this has been 20 years of hell. You really want this for yourself. This is something I've wanted my entire life. And now I feel like I finally have it and I'm going to be able to do this. But it's come with a lot of challenges. I've had breakdowns. The first 6 months, I had breakdowns. I would cry uncontrollably, knowing how badly I wanted to pull, but knowing I couldn't, because if I did, that was it. There was no turning back. The first pull, if I got one pull in, that was it. And I didn't want that for myself. I have worked extremely hard without therapy, without medication, to do this all by myself. I'm hoping this video will be a little bit edited and I can insert photos of what I looked like before. If not, it's fine. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you will see photos of what I looked like before. I was truly bald for almost 20 years. From 1999 to 2019, I was bald. I never had hair. If I did, it was a bunch of bald patches and just a mess. I truly believe that everyone can beat this disorder. You just gotta change the way our brains are wired, because our brains clearly are wired differently. You know, we enjoy that feeling of pulling out our hair. You know, to the average person, because I tried it on my brother when I was younger, and I said, doesn't this feel good? And I pulled his hair out, and he goes, ow, that really hurts. I'm like, oh, my brain thinks it feels good. I'm here for everybody and anybody. If you need advice, please come to me. I still truthfully don't know how I've done this. Everyone asks me 20 times a day, how did you do this? Give me advice. And truly the only advice is you need to take it one step at a time, day by day. You can't expect it to change overnight, because that's not reality. This has taken me a year to get to where I am. And it's still not easy. It's really not easy. And I wish everybody the best of luck. You can do this. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram. I'll have my partner insert my Instagram name. It's She Beat Trichotillomania. And I'll have my Facebook link down below. I really hope that this was helpful for some. I'm really not good at public speaking, so I apologize. I hope you all have a lovely day, and thank you so much for watching.